You were sitting in this same seat a few months ago, and you were the only bear out there on Wall Street, and that was until today. What happened? What did you see?
Thank you for having me on. And I want to jump into it, but maybe just quickly.
Sure.
I think we might be at the beginning of quite arguably the biggest shift in healthcare investing over the next several years. And for context, just to lay the framework for the United upgrade.
Yeah.
Over the past few years, investors have wanted to buy hospitals because healthcare utilization has kept surprising to the upside. Well, over the past month or so, based on our work and our checks, we see evidence that these cost trends are coming down. And we're not talking about slightly, but it could be in a potentially unprecedented way. And if this is true, if it continues, if it's durable, we see a shift to managed care and away from hospitals. And that's why I think today was so important with UnitedHealth.
Explain the distinction.
Yeah, exactly.
Between managed care and hospitals.
Right. So health insurers like UnitedHealth, hospitals like HCA and Tenet Healthcare, they typically trade inversely. If healthcare utilization goes up, right, people are going to the hospital, that's typically bad for insurers. So that's how they trade. Over the past few years, hospitals have gone up and up and up, health insurers down, and I think we're just at the beginning where that trade is flipping, and it spells a lot of opportunity for investors ahead.
What does it mean for patients, that shift?
Right. For patients, I mean, there's a multitude of things here. Maybe this is a good segue into United, actually.
Okay.
So, yeah, I've been the lone bear for a while now. And the thing is, long-term, structurally, still a lot of concerns about their crown jewel, Optum Health, Optum Insight, which I'm happy to talk more about. But near-term, remember, United has a health insurance business, the biggest in the country, and they're going scorched earth, burning all the furniture, cutting benefits for seniors, exiting markets and plans, which is bad for the consumer, the individual, but for them, they're brute forcing EPS power and margins. And as of today, we're seeing the strength of that take place and take hold within their earnings.
So the fundamentals, financials, and if an investor wants to invest in the name, it sounds like a great play, but we will see the impact on patients.
Oh, we are seeing
We are
it.
already.
Right. So there's a multitude of things, but there's been elevated healthcare utilization. A lot of people utilizing the system over the past few years, and now we're seeing evidence of that beginning to normalize. And there's a multitude and complex.
I hate that word normalize. What does that mean? Less people using the system?
It could be that. Based on our work, we're also...
Forgive me, but...
No worries at all. Based on our work, we're seeing that AI has had a big impact over the past few years in helping hospitals maximize their revenue, right? Collection, diagnosis, coding, if you will. And what we're seeing is that it quite possibly could be a big sort of one-time shock that hit over the past couple of years, and that ability to code may be flattening. So that's one of the elements. But to your point as well, just utilization in general, things like surgical trends, for example.
Those are going down, or quote unquote normalizing, you say.
Normalizing.
Why were they high? Why were they higher over the last few years?
Right. I mean, there are a lot of different theories. I think post-COVID, no one was using the hospitals during COVID, so there's a built-up, pent-up demand, deferred care, if you will, that ran through the system. And then I think more recently, our work suggests maybe AI played into elevated trends even more.
Meaning like people, like what do you mean? How would AI play into that?
I think more on the hospital side.
Okay.
They're utilizing AI and maximizing their ability to
bring people
well,
in?
actually, to take existing procedures, services, and say, okay, you know what, we missed this previously, but now they actually have greater severity. You can code to even more different diseases, and that's helping them capture more revenue.
I do want to point out your upgrade, just to share it with everybody. In your note today, we are upgrading to neutral following clearance of the second quarter 2026 underwriting hurdle, improving near-term earnings visibility, supports a more balanced view. The primary driver of our upgrade is increased conviction on near-term Medicare Advantage margin improvement. So they just become better at making money.
Exactly. So
in other words,
sorry,
we saw signs of this in first quarter.
Yeah.
But the thing is, in first quarter, the good rule of thumb is you don't have much visibility as the health insurer. You maybe have 1 month of claims visibility in January. So most of what they report in first quarter are accruals and reserves. By second quarter, that's the important hurdle. And if you clear it, that's generally a good sign that the rest of the year is priced positively.
What does all this mean for premiums? We already asked, Carol asked the question about what it means for patients seeking care, but what about for premiums?
It depends on which part of insurance. There's Medicare Advantage, Medicaid, health exchange marketplace.
I think the answer is they're all going up.
Well, for Medicare
that seems
Advantage,
to be the trend.
It's not so much that. It's more
less coverage.
Less premiums will stay the same in Medicare. I'm not really expecting that much.
Okay.
It's just benefits are getting slashed. Yeah. For exchange marketplace, premiums are going up. We're getting double-digit premium increases, which, Congress, it's been a big battleground between.
Yeah, it's coming off of Obamacare, right? We've talked to folks who say it's like doubled what they have to pay now.
Exactly. So that marketplace is going through significant volatility right now.
All right, I'm going to put on my Bloomberg hat as I focus on financial markets and how you make money. What will it take to boost to a buy rating? Right.
So right now, we have very good near-term visibility into earnings outperformance for United. But longer term, we still have issues with or concerns over structural issues within Optum. And with the way United works, there's a lot of intercompany dynamics where if the health insurance generates profit, there's transfer pricing elements into Optum. So I want to see how the business looks like when the health insurance business is actually growing again. They're not slashing benefits for seniors. And what does it look like when Optum Health and Optum Insight can stand alone? Are margins durable? That would get us to an outperform. And it may take time. It may take years to get there.
Well, I was just going to ask, why would that take years?
Right, because right now, the entire health insurance marketplace, like Medicare Advantage, everyone is slashing benefits, trying to regain margins that they've all suffered in the past few years. So you're still in that underwriting cycle where benefits are going to get cut.
Okay.
United's going to continue to drive margin. So.
Hey, Michael, one thing I wanted to ask you, and these are names that you cover as well. If you look at the health insurers with exposure to private health plans, they're tumbling today after UnitedHealth highlighted persistent pressures in its commercial insurance business during its second quarter call. And I'm talking about Cigna and Elevance. Elevance is down about 4%. Cigna's down about 4.8%. You cover these names. Are investors right to be selling them?
I think the down move makes sense. And it all comes from, if there was one small blemish within the UnitedHealth report, it's that they mentioned some pressure within their commercial business, that cost runs were running a little bit higher. And they cited one thing in particular called it's IDR, independent dispute resolutions. Basically, think of it as baseball arbitration between hospitals and payers.
Yeah.
And these arbiters are choosing the provider rates more often, and that's generating more costs for insurers on the commercial side, which is Elevance, which is Cigna. Do we know if it's actually impacting those payers as well? We don't right now. Elevance seems to be performing fine. So is it idiosyncratic to United or is it more widespread? That's the question and debate right now.
Well, these guys have yet to report, correct? So maybe it's something that comes up on their earnings, or have they reported yet?
Elevance reported yesterday.
And it never came up?
Never came up. Commercial group was actually fine. Cigna is yet to report, so that'll be a big one to watch.
You mentioned Washington and with regard to the marketplace and what we're seeing with prices there. Is there other political risk that investors need to have on their radar for these names ahead of the midterm elections?
It's a good question. I would say typically it's a very topical thing into midterms. I would say right now, if what I just said earlier about Medicare Advantage cost trends coming down in that big of a way, that might be the topic that keeps this group going higher. But
because there are certain periods of time where you have the entire sector move based on one thing that's out of Washington, which is like reimbursements, for example. They can be very volatile based on what happens out of the Capitol.
Yeah, so I would remind everyone that does happen. Remember Medicare for All? Just 5-6 years ago, the group fell 40%, even though we knew it wouldn't actually pass.
Yeah.
That even if the House flips at midterms, that's a split Congress. So the likelihood for sweeping legislation to pass is very low. So I would buy the dip if there is anything that pops up on that narrative.
Just 20 seconds. Managed care index on the S&P up nearly 30% this year. Does that momentum continue?
It continues. I would focus less on multiple at this point. Look at pure earnings power. Look at the Medicare Advantage plans, United, CVS, our top pick, Alignment Health, possibly even Humana, and one other sort of dark horse name, Astrana Health. I would look at all of them.
All right, great stuff. We always love getting time with you. And Avalon Purnell, of course, of our reporting, also peppering us with some questions to share with you. So thank you so much.